Hey, family, let me ask you something before we get started. Have you ever been in a relationship with a person who was so perfect on paper? They said all the right things. They had the right look. They showed up the first few dates like they were auditioning for a role. And then somewhere around month 3, you realize you were dealing with a completely different person. You ever had that happen? Or maybe you're with them right now. Maybe you're thinking about them. Maybe you ended things and you're still trying to figure out why it felt so right for so long and then didn't. So family, here's what I've learned after 28 years of marriage, past relationships before marriage, and sitting with couples who have been trying to hold it together or figure out what went wrong. And I realized that it's something that nobody really tells us. And it may seem obvious, but just give me some room here. There are 2 versions of every person you ever date. There's the interview version, the person who shows up charming, fine, consistent, attentive, smell good, good hygiene, and a plan for the evening. And then there's the everyday version. The person who shows up when life is stressful, when conflict enters the room, when you need something he doesn't naturally want to give. Now, the interview version. Almost any person can run that program for 60 to 90 days. The charm, the being consistent, being attentive, saying the right things, texting back fast, and making you feel chosen. Then there's the everyday version. That's who's still there when life gets hard, when money gets tight, when life be lifing. And here's the truth, family. You don't marry the interview version. You marry the everyday version. And most people don't find out until they've already committed. But family, I've got 7 ways to help you figure that out before you give your whole heart. These are the 7 checkpoints for, I would say, relationship or covenant readiness, depends upon where you are. And these aren't trick questions. They're not tests designed to trap people. I want you to think of it like a pressure check. The way you test the foundation of your house before you move into it. You're not trying to break it. You're just trying to trust it. So let's walk through them one at a time. So let's start with checkpoint 1. How do they handle pressure? And for this one, I want to paint a picture. Everything is fine. Life is smooth. He's charming. He's kind. He's warm. He's attentive. But then something goes sideways. Work stress, a disagreement, something you said that he didn't like. Now, watch what happens next. Does their tone turn into something that cuts? Do they go cold and use silence like a weapon? Or do they say something they know will hurt and then act like that's just how I am when I get upset? But here's the thing I want you to hold on to. Please hold on to this. A person who cannot manage their own emotional temperature under pressure will eventually drain you in a relationship. And that is an exhausting way to be in a relationship, to be in a marriage. You will spend the majority of your emotional energy managing their reaction instead of building your life together. And for his marriage material is not a person who never gets upset. There are people who can feel it and still choose how they respond. And that's not a small thing. That's everything. You're not looking for someone who never gets upset. But the gap between feelings and the response, that is where emotional maturity lives. And in a relationship, that gap, that space is everything. So, checkpoint 2. Do they make you feel seen or just occupied? And I want you to sit with that one for a second. because there is a kind of loneliness, in my opinion, that's worse than being alone. It's the loneliness of being in a relationship and still feeling invisible. And I want you to ask yourself, does my partner actually listen when I talk? And I don't mean the nod and wait speaking, listening. I mean, does he remember what you told him last Thursday? Does she ask follow-up questions? Do they track what matters to you, your stress, your dreams, your fears? Or do they notice when something is off with you, even when you haven't said a word? Or do they want access? Access to your time, to your presence, to your energy, to your body, without really caring about your inner world. Think about that. Attraction wants to be near you. Love wants to know you. And a partner who isn't curious about who you actually are, not just what you look like or want to do, is not ready for the depth as far as it relates to relationships. Because connection is not a bonus. It is a foundation. Now, I know some of you are watching this and already mentally you're running through the checklist with people. He doesn't have that one, but that one maybe, and maybe on a good day. But I want you to stay with me. Don't start scorecarding yet. Let's get the whole picture. And let's let it all come together, because that's what I've learned. It's rarely one checkpoint that tells the story, and it's the pattern across all 7 that we'll get to. So let's get to checkpoint number 3. When there's conflict, do they repair or do they punish? Now, this one saves you years of pain if you will hear it. Forget whether they argue. Everybody argues. But pay attention to what happens after a disagreement. Do they come back to talk to you to understand? Or do they come back to win? Do they own their part, or do they find a way to make the whole thing your fault? And do they apologize when they're wrong? Or hold out until someone breaks in order to bring peace back? But here's the principle I want you to hold on to. Conflict reveals character, and repair reveals commitment. Because like I said, anyone can argue, and it takes a real one to come back and say, you know what, I was wrong. That wasn't right, what I said and what I did. You're not looking for a perfect man or woman. You're looking for a repairable one. And those are two completely different things. That willingness to return and rebuild, that is one of the most important things you will ever look for in a partner. One of the most. So checkpoint number 4. Do they know your inner world, and do they honor it? There's a difference between someone who is attracted to you and someone who values you. Attraction says things like, I want to be around you. But value says, I pay attention to who you are. Ooh. Does your partner know what you're afraid of? Does he know what keeps you up at night, or what makes you light up in the morning, or in conversations? Does she know your faith, your story, your testimony, the way you're wired on the inside? And here's the second part, because a lot of people miss this. Does he speak well of you? Does she honor you out loud? Not just in your face, but to others, to her family. Do they affirm you, celebrate you? Proverbs says that a good man praises his wife, and that's leadership. A man who covers you with honor is a man whose words you can trust when it counts. A partner who knows you deeply and honors you openly, that is someone building a covenant, not just a relationship. Now, I do have a question. Here's a question I want you to sit with for just a moment. You with me? Are you ready? Are you someone who's passing these checkpoints so far yourself? because the partner you're looking for is also looking for someone ready. And this goes both ways. So I want you to keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your mind as we work toward finishing these checkpoints. So checkpoint number 5. Do they think like a partner or like someone single? Okay, so let's be honest. Let's be honest for a second. Some people want a committed relationship the same way people want a gym membership in January. You know, that resolution thing? They love the idea, but they love telling people about it. But when it gets cold and they're tired, the commitment quietly disappears. Here's the checkpoint. Is the default setting for this person I or we? When she makes a decision about time, money, or the future, do they naturally factor you in, or do you always find out after the fact? I mean, do you feel like a priority or an addition? Team-minded partners don't just show up for the celebration. They build with you. They ask what works for us, not just what works for me. That sense of from singular to plural, that's it. That's covenant thinking. And you can see it in the small everyday things if you look for. If you look for them, please look for them long before you try to go to the altar. So checkpoint 6. Do they carry their weight, or are you carrying them? I want to say this as gently and as clearly as I can. You are not a rehabilitation center. You are not responsible for raising a grown man. You are not responsible for motivating him to find a job or a purpose or covering their chronic inconsistencies. That's not partnership. That's parenting. The checkpoint here is simple. It's follow through. Do they do what they say they will do? Not perfectly, but faithfully. Do they own their responsibilities because they are genuinely grown? And not because someone reminded them or nudged them or guilted them into it. You know, a partner who handles their life faithfully, who shows up, follows through, and takes ownership is showing you every single day that they can be trusted with the big things. So watch for the small things, because the small things, they always tell the big story. Family, finally, the last one, checkpoint number 7. Can they hear you without shutting down? Can you express a need, a concern, a frustration, or correction, a real feeling without it becoming an argument, without it being a guilt trip, without days of silence that you eventually break just to keep the peace? Because here's what happens when when it isn't present. You stop talking, not all at once, but gradually. You learn what's safe and what isn't. So you start filtering yourself. You stop bringing the hard things up, and eventually those conversations stop. And slowly and quietly, the real you, the one with opinions and needs and truth, goes quiet, goes underground. And a relationship becomes performative, a performance instead of a partnership. You know, covenant ready means teachable. It means your partner can sit in the discomfort and stay in the conversation. It means that they can hear something hard and not turn it into an attack on your identity. That is what emotional maturity looks like in action. And it is the difference between a relationship that survives and one that thrives. So family, let's bring it home. Let's bring these 7 points home. So let me bring them back one more time, one at a time. Let's see. 1, how do they handle pressure? 2, do they make you feel seen? 3, do they repair or punish? 4, do they know the inner you and honor it? And 5, do they think like a partner? And 6, do they carry their own weight? And 7, can they hear you without shutting down? Here's the thing. You're not running this list to build a case. Hear me out. You're running it to protect your peace before you go further. These aren't traps. These are truths. They are not a test designed to disqualify someone from love, but rather they are a mirror held up early so that you can see clearly before the feelings get so loud that the truth gets hard to hear. And if you're watching this as someone who wants to be that partner, that's good. Use this list. Grow into it. The person you're looking for deserves someone who is genuinely ready, and so do you. And if you're watching this thinking, I don't know if a person like this even exists anymore, let me say this. I believe they do. I have hope for you. But you find them faster when you stop rewarding the performance and the feelings and you start prioritizing their patterns, how they move, what they're doing. You deserve a love that doesn't require you to shrink. You deserve a partner whose character holds up, not just on date nights, but on the hard days, the ordinary days, the days when life is heavy. And you need someone who is actually there. Family, that's the standard. And I want you to hold it. Now, I want to hear from you. Which checkpoint landed hardest today? If you don't mind, drop it in the comment section. I read every one of them and I would love to hear from you. And if this episode gave you something, do me a favor, share it, because somebody in your circle is making a decision right now, and this might be the exact conversation they need. Family, friends, if you are new here, hey, welcome. I want you to subscribe. And until next time, stay rooted, stay real, keep building what will last, and I'll see you in the next one.